Hi guys, welcome to another video in this channel. Today I'm going to be showing you a very cool tool inside of Maya. Now some of you might have already been familiar with this one, but this is a really cool tool, and I want to show you an example of how we can use this tool to very quickly create assets that we can later use in our scenes, okay? So this tool, the one that I'm talking about, is of course a duplicate special. So everyone knows that here inside of Maya, or hopefully everyone that is aware of Maya knows that here inside of Maya, we can very easily press just, let's turn this on real quick. We can just press Control D and move this thing, and we're going to be duplicating our object. Now, what a lot of people don't know about this is that we actually have access to a really cool tool, which is called a duplicate special. And the way it works is as follows. If you have an object, my God, my ducks are going crazy out there. If you have an object right here and you press Control D once, and then press Shift D, what's going to happen is that you're going to duplicate the object with the exact same changes that you did with the first copy, with the first object. Now at first this might not seem like much, but if you think about this, it's actually pretty handy. Imagine we're doing some sort of like a highway or something, and we want to do like light poles, right? So one thing we could very easily do is just create a light pole and say, you know what, we're gonna have this distance between the light poles, and then this is gonna go like 50 poles down the line. You just press Shift D, and every time you do this, all of the poles are gonna be sharing the exact same like duplication elements, the exact same distance, which is really cool. Now, another thing that we have is you can actually change the rotation, for instance, and if you do Shift D, let's do this again. So you grab the first one, Control D the first time, you do this, and then Shift D, and it's gonna do it, but it's gonna apply the same transformation that you did before to the new one. And as you can see, we get this very cool looking spiral, because every time we're duplicating, we're getting one new variant using the exact same transform that we had last time. So as you can see, this creates a very cool pattern. Now if you go really crazy, for instance, you can start with a cube and say, you know what, I'm gonna Control D, move it, rotate, and scale. And then when we do this, this is also going to apply. And as you can see, we can create this very interesting patterns where every single cube is getting the transform, and it's getting bigger and bigger, as you can see right there. So really cool thing, really cool elements that we can write here. And it's going to allow us to explore a very interesting thing right now, because with this elements, we can now jump onto the main tool, and I can show you how we can use this main tool to create the staircase that you saw on the thumbnail. So the main tool of the duplicated special is going to live here on the edit tab. So on the edit tab, you're going to find this duplicated special option. As you can see, the one that we've been using is this Shift D, which is duplicate with transform. So it remembers the last transform that we did, and it just duplicates it again. But we're going to be using this one called duplicated special. It's super handy. So the way this works is, first of all, it will ask us whether we want to create copies or instances of whatever object we're working with. So the easiest way for me to show you this is as follows. So I'm going to create a cube right here. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, I had to get a sneeze out of the way. You guys probably miss my sneezes, right? So, yeah, I've been cleaning the whole thing, the whole place over here. I did a thorough cleaning of my PC over here, and the amount of dust just floating around, it's amazing. Anyway, so I'm going to go here into the face options. I'm just going to move the faces to the side. When I do this, as you can see, the pivot point remains on the center of the grid, which is important because we moved the components. We did not move the cube. And the pivot point is going to be, well, super important for the duplicated special. So the way this works is very easy. First of all, it's going to ask us, do you want to make copies or instances by using this tool? The main difference is whenever you create an instance, you're not actually creating a new like duplicate of the object. It's pretty much the same object, just displayed on a different place. So if anything happens to the original object, Maya doesn't have to like repopulate. It's just like, it just says, hey, it's the same object, so I'm just gonna have the same transformation everywhere. It's very handy. For instance, I'll do it in just a second, but one of the cool things about working with instances is that if you modify any of the instances, all of the other ones are gonna be modified as well. I don't know what it is with recording and my sneezing, because anytime I'm just working, I don't get any of the sneezes, but yeah, it's just, it's incredible. Anyway, as I was mentioning, the cool thing about instances is that when you have an instance, when you change any of the elements from that instance, like you can have 100 instances and you can change any of those 100 elements, all of the elements are going to change as well. Okay, now how does this work? Well, first of all, it's going to, after asking us whether we want a copy or an instance, I'm going to select copy for now. It's going to ask us whether we want to parent the new duplicates under a new parent, under the world, which is just like the basic outliner, or create a new group. It really doesn't matter for now, but just make sure that you select the proper one depending on the kind of work that you're doing. Usually parent or world work just fine. If you want to keep everything green, you can just go into a group. It's totally fine. Now, here's where the magic happens. Here, what we're going to see, as you can see, is we have translate, rotation, and scale. And anytime you have 3 boxes inside of Maya, that's X, Y, and Z. Okay, so I'm going to reset the tool real quick. There we go. Everything is at zeros. And what I can say here is, hey, I want 1 copy of this object, or in this case, let's say 1 instance, so that you guys see what instances are. And what I want to do is I want to displace this element, or move this element 10 units in X. So if I hit apply, what's going to happen is I'm going to create a cube that's 10 units away from the original cube. But these are instances, okay? It might not look like such, but they are actually instances. So if I were to go to this object right here and move this face, as you can see, the other object is going to respond as well. Now you can say, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't want this instance to be 10 units away. I just want it to be like 2 units away, but I want 10 copies. So now if I hit apply, select the object, hit apply, what's going to happen is this. We're going to get 10 duplicates of the object. And again, if I were to change any elements or any portions of this object, all of the objects are going to follow as well. So as you can see, this is a very handy way to create elements that are very repetitive. And it will allow us to just change and make adjustments in a very fast way. So one of the cool things about this, and the reason why I moved this cube to the side and kept the pivot point right here, is because rotation actually plays a really important role as well. So let's say we want to create these cubes, and I want to have like let's say 24 cubes going around, like, or maybe let's keep it simple. Let's say 12 cubes going around the element. Maybe I'm doing like some sort of clock, or I'm doing like Stonehenge or something. Well, I can just again select the cube, make sure that the pivot point is right here, and instead of using translation, I'm going to use rotation. And I want to rotate this cube on the y-axis. That's why I kept the pivot point right there, because the duplicate is special, and pretty much all of the tools inside of Maya will work depending on where your pivot point is. So what I can do here is on the rotation, I can say, hey, you know what? I want 24 copies, not 12. Let's go 24 copies. Well, I already have the first one, so I don't need 24. I need 23, one less than the ones that I already have. And since I suck at math, I'm going to go to my calculator, and we know that a circle is 360 degrees. If we divide that by 24, we're going to get 15. Okay. So on the rotation on the y-axis, I'm going to hit 15. And when I hit apply, what's going to happen now is we're going to get this very cool ring that's perfectly and symmetrically aligned to all of the remaining cubes. And again, if I were to go into the faces of the object, for instance, I can change this. You could even animate this, by the way. This is something similar to what Mesh does. Mesh, which is a plugin inside of Maya, it works a lot with this sort of like instancing and duplication of elements. So as you can see right here, we have all of these patterns, and they're all part of the same instance. So whatever happens to one of them will be applied to the other one. For instance, I can extrude this thing and create like a little hole. Let's do like an offset, and let's do a Control E. There we go. And now we have all of these boxes right here. Now, if you don't want the instances to be instances, you can just delete history and freeze transformation. And I believe that is going to change. No, it's not, because they're instances. They're sharing the same transform node, actually. So we're not going to be able to break the instancing right now. But at any point, I could just like go into any of these instances, delete them, and now I can go to this one, say copy instead of instance, and then when I hit apply, what do we have here? Well, we have this very bad error. Why? Because we forgot to move the pivot point. When we center the pivot point is now at the center of this element, so let's move it to the center of the grid again with D and X, and now when we do this, we're going to get this effect right here. And as you can see, that works very cool. It's a really nice way to generate duplicates of our elements. Now, how can we use this to create the nice little staircase that we did? Well, first of all, let's do a little bit of modeling. I'm going to start with a tube, which is going to be like the basis of my main element, like the support of all of the steps that we're going to have. This is a very like modern type of stair that I've seen being used for a while now. And I'm going to create the step. So I'm going to go with a cube. It's going to be a long cube, sort of like this, and we're going to move it so it's right there. Now, of course, I want this step to look as nice as possible. I'm going to show you a nice plugin that we have here to texture as well. So we're going to do this right here, and let's add a bevel. So I'm just going to add bevel, 2 segments and a small fraction, so it's sort of round, probably a little bit wider. like this. There we go. Now, here's where we're gonna use a little bit of math and just make sure that we get these things. All right, let me play some music for myself. There we go. So if we go over here to Google and we look for step measurements, you're gonna see that a stair normally will have a where is it? There's usually like I believe it's something like a 15 centimeter height. There we go. So 7 inches. 7 inches, that's about 21 centimeters. What's the proper measurement? Step measurements, centimeters. Because most of us work in centimeters. Only our friends in America or in the United States like to work with feet and inches, which are super confusing. So there we go. Yeah, so 17 centimeters, it's usually the average distance, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move the pivot point of this guy to the center of the world again with X. There we go. And I want to say, okay, how many steps do I want? Usually, it's about 15 steps to go to like a first floor. So I'm going to say, okay, I know that these guys are going to be translated 17 units, because in Maya, remember that the unit is a centimeter, so 17 units in this axis. Now, unfortunately, though, I think if I do 17 centimeters, this is not real world scale, so it's going to go like super high. So instead of 17 centimeters, I'm going to do like 2.3 centimeters. You want to do everything like world scale, make sure to check our Unreal tutorial that we did a couple of weeks ago where I teach you how to do real scale. And by the way, since we're already doing a little bit of promotion, check out Skillshare very quickly. Here we go. Hey guys, Abraham here. I just wanted to remind you guys that we upload all of our courses to Skillshare. Skillshare is this amazing site where you can access a ton of different content to learn, improve, and grow as an artist. We have all of our courses available to watch and learn from right now in Skillshare. You can check the description down here, and Skillshare is offering 1 free month trial to their premium membership. With this membership, you're going to be able to access all of our courses and watch and learn all of the amazing things that we cover with all of the softwares. So, what are you waiting for? Check Skillshare down here below. There we go. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's going to be 2.3 units up. And here's where the interesting point is going to be. How much do I want to rotate this? About, I would say 20 degrees on the y-axis. And now if I hit apply, what happened is this. Look at this. We get this very, very nice stair step going all the way to the top. And the cool thing about this is this pole right here goes across the center of all of the stair steps. And as you can see, we can very easily create this very nice architectural piece. Now let's take this a step further, shall we? So usually, like we wouldn't expect this to be just like this, right? Like it would be very dangerous. People would or could fall down. So I'm gonna create a new cylinder, and there's gonna be like the support that's gonna be here. It's gonna be a slim support. I definitely want this to be a slim support. So right about here. How tall? I would say roughly about there. That looks good to me. I definitely want to like bevel this guy right here. There we go, to keep it round. Now this one, I definitely want this to be an instance, and you guys are going to see why in just a second. So I'm going to keep this as an instance, and I'm just going to use the same properties that we had before. The only thing I need to be sure is to move the pivot point. Remember, anytime we're using duplicate special, the position of your pivot point is going to be like super important to the whole thing. So I'm going to hit apply, and as you can see, we now have this very nice thing going all the way around our element. So pretty cool, right? That's not bad. It's looking quite nice. So the reason why I made this a what's the word, an instance, is because now I can go to the first one, for instance, and just insert a couple of edge loops and say, hey, maybe you know what, I want to have like a little bit of a face here. So I'm just gonna make this thing a little bit wider like that. Grab this edge right here and just hit bevel. And there we go. And all of the ones that we have along our stair is going to have exactly that. Maybe I want to make this a little bit slimmer. So I'm going to press R. And now I'm actually going to move the pivot point back to the center. Let me see if this works the way I am expecting it to work. I'm just going to hit center pivot. There we go. And if I press R and Control, I'm going to be able to just thin this out. And as you can see, since now the pivot point is here, it's affecting everything in the exact same way. So there we go. We have this very nice element going all around our object. Now we can't move it. If we move it, we lose everything. But one thing we can do is I can actually like say, hey, you know what? I'm going to grab all of the vertices and just move them like this. And as you can see, each one of them is moving itself on the z-axis of their local world, which is super, super important, because by doing this, now what I can do is just do one more, like say about there, bring the pivot point back to the world, and just apply this again, and now we have two sets of like stair protectors like that. And there we go. Like very easily, we're building this very nice, interesting staircase without the need to actually go over and do everything or place everything like by hand, right? Like everything is being positioned in this very, very cool way. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I would love to add a like one line going across the whole element. I'm trying to think what's the best way to do that. We can try and match the, what's the word? What could be a good way to do that? Oh, okay, I know what we're gonna do. So here's what we're gonna do. So I know that the rotation of this guy is following a very interesting shape, right? So I'm gonna use a little bit of a fancy trick here. I'm gonna create a NURBS tool here, NURBS primitive. I'm gonna create a circle primitive, which is gonna be the cut of my axis, or of my rail, if you wish. I'm gonna bring this here, snap it so it's right about there, make it smaller. I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees. There we go. And the cool thing about duplicate special is that it not only applies to what's the word? To objects in the geometry section. It applies to any kind of object, because as you can see, this is not only for polygons, it's just an edit option. So we can go to the duplicate special of this ring right there. Let me freeze the transformations. And if I apply the same one, you're gonna see that now we should have, oh, what do I forgot? The center right here. There we go. So we hit apply, and now you can see that we have this very nice line going all across the element. Now I think it's a little bit too low. Again, we can't move this object up because it's not gonna work, but if we can go to the control vertices, and if we do that, we can actually move this thing up like this. And now the only thing I need to do is I'm gonna grab this guy and then shift select all of the other ones, and we're gonna use a tool inside of the surfaces tool called the loft. And as you can see, the loft will pretty much connect all of the elements into a single like section, into a single element, and we get this right here. Looking sharp, right? Not bad, not freaking bad. Now, unfortunately, this thing right here is not what we want. That's a NURBS surface, and we want polygons. So very quick thing here. On the loft options, we're gonna change this to polygons. Quads, general, per span, that's fine. And we hit apply. There we go. Let's delete the history. And as you can see, we have this very cool looking rail that's just following along the whole like axis. And if we want to, we can just, of course, duplicate this and create like a double rail right here. That looks nice. I'm gonna grab both of them actually, combine them. I'm gonna go to the right view, and I would like to probably push this vertices like forward and just a little bit so they follow the same like direction, and they overlap with the rail right there. That means that maybe the rails need to be just slightly longer. Maybe one of them is gonna be slightly longer. So let's go again to this one, center the point. Just scale this one up a little bit, and that way we're gonna have like one thick one and one small one. I'm not super fond of the way this is looking. As you can see, it looks a little bit weird. I mean, it's not bad, but it looks a little bit weird. So I'm gonna go here to vertices and just make this go down. Same for those ones. Just keep them closer to the edge of the element, and that looks a lot nicer, a lot prettier. And that's it. We have finished a very nice staircase. It only took us about 10 minutes because I had to explain the tool beforehand. And there we go. Now, I don't want to bore you guys with all of the details, so I'm just going to throw in some very quick substance materials. Actually, let's do it. I know you guys love it. I know you guys love when I give you extra information. So I'm going to go to Substance 3D Assets page. I'm just going to do this super quick. And I'm going to look for like a wood texture. This Bubinga wood looks very nice. I'm just gonna download the SVSR. There we go. And one of the cool things about Maya, especially the newer versions, they actually have the Substance plugin included. So it's very easy to just load a Substance file. Just gonna load everything. I'm actually gonna keep it to all load because I do use it quite frequently. And right here, I'm just gonna go into my Hypershade. Right here, I'm gonna press and I'm gonna write substance, and it's this substance node texture. We're gonna load our texture that we just downloaded, this wood Bubinga. Unfortunately, I can't give this to you guys, but you can grab any like free texture and you should be fine. Let's do 2K. And over here, I'm just going to select Arnold. I'm going to say create network. And what this will do, as you are about to see, is it's going to create the whole like network. Everything's going to be connected. Everything's going to be properly laid out. I actually don't want the height. So I'm going to remove the height information. We don't need displacement right now. It's a very simple object. And there we go. So now it's just a matter of grabbing all of the cubes, all of these guys. Let's just check the UVs real quick. Not the best ones. So I'm just going to Control U to unfold. And just make them smaller. I really don't care about the overlap. But if you want, we can press Control L to lay them out. So now every one of them is going to have a different UV. I mean, it's something super simple. And yeah, we can now render for everything else. So the original cylinder, like all of the cylinders and the original cylinder, I'm just gonna right click, assign a new material, and it's gonna be an Arnold AI standard surface. And I just want this to be like a black sort of like metallic material. A little bit of roughness maybe, and that's pretty much it. We're gonna go Arnold, lights, Skydome light. Let me add a file node right here. We're gonna go to our projects and right here. And we're gonna go to, where did I have one of these guys? I don't remember what school I was doing this for. No, not this one. What's it, animation? Yeah. Yeah, there we go. It's very. They released this one, this HDR in Polyhaven, not long ago. It's I really like it. It's really cool. And finally, let's do a very quick infinite background. Just push this up. There we go. Let's frame this. Something like this, I guess. Let's rotate this element a little bit. Whoop, let's freeze transformation, or just, I think we're in world mode. There we go. Just scale this like that. I'm actually gonna grab everything. I think it will be cool if we can, let's just Control G, again delete history, and just Control D. And let's create like another one over here. Looks cool. Maybe this one is coming up and the other one's coming down. So let's do this one going up. And this one is gonna be the other way around. Whoa. Let's just Control G. There we go. Nope. There we go. Now the model through. Let me save this real quick because we haven't. Just gonna save this as a staircase. It's very important to save. There we go. And yeah, now let's change the Arnold setup here. We're gonna be using GPU. Let's do full HD. Just the basic render setup stuff. And we're gonna say Arnold render. And let's see how this looks. Okay, not bad. But the material, we forgot to assign the material, which is unfortunate. So let's grab all of the cubes here. Right click, assign existing material, and it's this, I believe it's the AI under surface 1, because that's the one with the width. Same thing here. Just right click and assign existing material, AI standard surface 1. And now we render, we should get the little prompt. Yeah, there we go, where it's converting all of the textures. And we're gonna get the wood textures. Look at that. Beautiful, right? So yeah, I mean, imagine you're building some sort of again, some sort of a loft or something, you're doing some architectural visualization, well, with this little trick, you can create a lot of cool stuff, cool repetitive stuff that will allow you to very quickly model all of this. Don't forget to use a denoiser optics to clean your image, as you can see right here. Super, super clean, super nice. And just for the sake of just a nicer image, I'm gonna go Arnold lights, area light. I'm gonna create a kind of big area light coming from the top, like this. I'm gonna change the spread down so it's more like a spotlight. Increase the exposure. Let's try like a 10, and let's use the warm tone. Let's see how this looks. Definitely need to change the. There we go. Not bad, but I think we need more strength. So here, let's try 15. There we go. As you can see, that one's a little bit too much though. So let's do 12. Seems like I'm pointing the light to a different place, which is weird. Let's try this. And I actually want the same light on this other side. So let's take a look at how this looks now. Oh, that looks nicer. Okay. Now, of course, let's find the proper frame here. And there we go. That's the thumbnail image. So 25 minutes, and we were able to create this very nice effect. I might tweak this a little bit more just for the sake of the thumbnail. But yeah, this is it, guys. Hope you liked this little tip. And remember, I'll see you back on Monday when we take a mini course. This next mini course is going to be about Blender. So if you've been wanting to learn about Blender, get your hands on Blender and start learning some of the tools, I'm going to be showing you some of the things that I've learned in this past year that I've been playing around with it. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.